Hello, everyone. Welcome. So, how are you with change? Do you run towards it with your arms wide open? Can't wait to get started? Or do you pretty much run screaming in the other direction? Well, today we're going to look at ways to make change a little easier to deal with and maybe even for it to be just a little bit fun for you to go and try something new. My name is Carol Deshane, and I am an intuitive spiritual guide for practical matters and certified Marconics energy recalibration practitioner. Thank you so much for joining me. Different people dislike change. It's not just individuals. There's also people that you might notice that the elderly don't do overly well with change, and neither do certain young people, people maybe 7 or 8 up to through the teenager years. They don't really love change all that much. And individually or as a group, you'll notice that it's not so much about, the fact that you know where your next meal is coming from or where you're going to sleep that night. That's sort of a human thing. But it's more the fact that they don't like changing residences. They may be in the same place for 20 years. They don't like changing jobs, although they may have to. They don't want to change relationships. So even if it's not a good relationship, they may stay there for way longer than they should. And friendships that are toxic to them, they may keep for whatever reason. Now, there are other people who love change. They love change so much that when you had the old-fashioned address book, they were the ones you had to have 5 pages for because you kept crossing off their addresses every year or two. They'd be moving. They're also the kind that can't stay in a job for more than a year or two at a time. They want adventure, something new, something more fun. And nowadays I realize people do change their jobs more often. But still, if you look at it in regards to other things you do, perhaps it's just the way things are with the job. But if you change your residence and everything else, and even your relationships shift really often, then you may be the type that loves change and you embrace it as often as possible. So most of us kind of in the middle. We want to do change. If it comes up, we may not go looking for it, and maybe we do, but it's in certain times of our life. It's not all the time. So if you look at change, where are you? Do you like it? Do you not like it? With me, I think nowadays I'm between 70 and 75% on the balance of liking change. Where are you on that scale? It's really good to know for you where you are because it gives you a baseline. So there's going to be different things about change, whether you like it or not. There may be change when it comes to small versus large change. Maybe you're great. Small everyday things, they're small, they don't bother you, and you just roll with it. But maybe the larger ones are the ones you go, not my thing. Don't like it, don't want to go there. Or maybe you're fine generally, but maybe if you look at the type of change you go through at home versus work, maybe you're good at home, but work just freaks you out. Or vice versa, maybe you come home, you want everything fine, everything calm, everything the same, status quo. The littlest thing may set you off at home, but at work, you're a dynamo. It could be any of those things. If you can figure out where you're at and what bothers you the most about change, then the next time it comes up, you're going to have a pretty good idea of where you're at and if things bother you, what to do. Listen on. I'm going to give you a couple of ways now about how to make things a little easier on yourself. But realize I'm not talking about making decisions, although actually these will work for those too. I'm talking more about having a change kind of thrust upon you or already having made the decision and trying to live with the change that you're dealing with. Try one or maybe all 3 of these items I'm going to be giving you on, however you need. Because sometimes one will work immediately, and sometimes that one didn't work so well. Let me try another one. And you may find that one way works for you all the time, and it makes your life much easier. So play around with these and see what you think. Make them personal for you. So here we go. First way to make your fear a little less. First, I want you to look at, why are you feeling uneasy with this change? Are you feeling fear or anxiety, anger, annoyance. I mean, where are you on that scale? What are you doing? Not on a percentage scale, just which feeling do you have about this? Pick a particular change either you're going through or you have that you had trouble with. And think about that. Feel through it. So I want you to either, yes, I know, I say this all the time, write a list, just so that you have to remember it. Write it down, type it up, whatever you want to do, so that you can look at these in a minute. And I want you to get a little more focused on what these are. So as an example, to make this a little easier, let's say that you got a job change and you decided to go with it. So here you are with this brand new job change. And the things that are bothering you about this change may be that you're afraid your kids are going to hate you forever because they are so angry at you for making them leave their friends. And maybe they're head of their school or something. And so they're really not happy with you. And that makes you have some anxiety about that. You know how that's going to work out. Or maybe you're concerned because you don't know if your new boss, if it's going to be okay, or if the coworkers you'll get along with. It could be fearful because maybe the money isn't as good, but it's a less expensive place, but still you're going, this is supposed to be a promotion or a change, and thought it should be more money. So maybe that makes you a little anxious. Or maybe it's the fact if you get the job or you have the job, but maybe you don't like it or you can't do it as well as you thought or they thought, maybe all of a sudden you have nothing and you're in this new place. So there could be all different pieces of this anxiety or this nervousness about this new change that you have. So get as many as you can out in the open, because of those lists, you're going to find 3 different kinds of issues you're going to have. Fears, anxieties, it's going to be 3 different things. It's either going to be baseless fears that you're going to go, what? Why is that even in my list? That's silly. There are going to be red flags that you go, ooh, this could be a problem. And then there are the ones that's everything else in the middle. So let's look at each one at a time. The first one, you have them and you look at these kind of what you would consider baseless fears, and you're thinking, why don't I write this down? And it's the awareness of this that maybe is a little tiny voice in the back of your head that'll make it easier for you to release, because you go, whoa, look at this. I'm actually fine with this. Not sure why I wrote that down. And you can cross it off, but leave it on the list, because just in case something leads back to that fear and you go, oh, that's why that came up. I want you not to like erase it, so to speak, but like put a strike through it and realize, I think I've dealt with that one. And then there are the red flags, which are 2 different things. There are the red flags based in reality, and then there are the ones that are kind of intuition, that you go, something may be the matter here, but I'm not sure what it is. So the ones that are based in reality, an example for that is if you went for your interview with this new boss, which I'll stay with this little scenario here, and maybe they disrespected you. Maybe that person didn't treat you the way you want to be treated, and you're a little concerned that this could be a bad thing. But you took the job anyway, and here you are on the way there, and you're really concerned about it. This is based in reality as far as you know, because something happened that you were not too happy with. And then the ones that are based on intuition are the ones where you have that overwhelming feeling of, this isn't right for me. So investigate that feeling, but honor it. Honor it and look at it and say, is this overwhelming feeling I'm having, is it based in fear that, there's a huge issue around this? Or is this just a knowingness that something's not quite right? Because it could go either way. And if it's the fear, you can put that into the 3rd category, because we can deal with that. But if it's just a feeling, the things you can do for these 2. The first one, if it's based in reality, is realize that you may need to set some boundaries going into whatever you're doing. Make sure it's clear to you how much you'll take, how much you'll deal with. Because I don't want you going in somewhere and then going, oh, this is bad. So make sure that you're aware and you really honor yourself in both instances for red flags. The one where it's more on intuition, have a plan. Think about it. When you're moving into change and you aren't too sure what's going on, first, like I say, honor yourself and think of a way that you can shift that change in a different way if something hits the fan and you go, there it is. I knew that was going to happen. Didn't know what it was, but I knew something fell off. So that you have maybe a backdoor plan so that you can shift it again in some other way. Or maybe you can take a piece of that puzzle out and shift it and get rid of that piece so that it actually will work better for you. So those are the two different red flag types. Now, the third thing is pretty much everything in the middle, because mostly what we have are just fears that are unrealized about a future that we don't know anything about. And those you can do something with. So, second thing, what I'm going to say is the second way you can do is you're going to look at those fears I just mentioned. So if you hadn't previously decided to go that way, you don't need to go into depth about all of them, but look at least one of those fears. Look at it and think about it, because I want you to be aware that you can turn this fear and this worry, concern about this change upside down. So stick it on its ear. I want you to go ahead and realize that this unknown future could be really wonderful. Even if you have this concern, this worry, this fear, this not so good feeling about something as you move through the change that you're in. So I want you to realize that it can be an amazing thing, amazingly wonderful, not just amazingly bad, in a really good way. And I want you to take this fear and shift it. And I want you to live as though this is the case, that you have this really great thing. So I'm going to give you an example so that you understand what I'm talking about. Now, when you have, for example, those kids that your children that are not happy with you about those friends that they might leave behind, instead of being concerned about that all the time, every time that negative thought comes up, flip it into a positive. So what could be the opposite of that? Look at it as though a year has gone by and that concern or worry has never happened. So here you are a year in the future going, I never had to worry about that in the first place. So if you think it right now as though you're already in the future and you're looking back and you go, well, that didn't happen. So look at the most positive thing that you can think of from that negative. So again, in case I'm talking in circles for you, let me give you that example. So here are the kids, and you're thinking, well, I'm in the future now, and that worry that they would hate me never happened except for maybe a minute or two. But they found a great school at this new place, and live as though in your mind for those few minutes at least, it was great. They love the new school. They fit right in. Their friends are so much better. I feel so much safer around these kids that they're playing and hanging out with. There are better influences on my kids. These new students, the teachers are great, maybe smaller classes. So think really good things about that negative that you had. And every time that feeling and that thought comes up about, what if my kids hate it? Shift it into that positive. Don't dwell on the negative. If you need to do something about it to make something shift, then do it. But don't constantly worry and sit in that negative feeling. And that boss that maybe disrespected you, I talked about earlier, maybe instead you go into the future and you think, wow, what's great about this? That boss is no longer my boss because I became the boss. Or maybe you are a year in the future and you say, that boss ended up being a great guy. It was just a bad day they were having and I didn't even know it. And never happened again. It's wonderful. So whatever you need to do to make it seem like a reality for you, go there. It can be a lot of fun to stick in the positive and to create those feelings for yourself. And the more that you have these positive experiences instead of the negative, the more you're going to start feeling really good about what's going on. The third way is to just, when you're thinking it's not comfortable and you don't know what's going on, find one even tiny thing that's positive about this change. Even if it seems awfully small, I want you to take it and blow it up all out of proportion. You have full okay for me to do that. So take that concern and make it huge. Make the good little tiny piece of the puzzle that you're thinking, well, I think that the house we looked at was okay. I'm not sure anything else is going to work with this move. Blow it up out of proportion. Feel like it's really happening. Feel like you are what happens maybe is that you imagine, oh, yeah, the house is great, but everybody loves it. I already know they're going to like it. We all spend more time together. We have more family time. We grow more as a family. We love each other more because we're together more. We love where we're at, and it just starts growing us. We just love this place. Every time you start looking at one little tiny positive or even one bigger positive that you see from this change, you're going to start having other ones come into your mind. Because like attracts like, if you start dealing with the positive, you're going to have more and more positive ideas come to you of, whoa, this is really good. Oh, maybe this will happen. Oh, this feels like this is a possibility for this change. And as you go through all of these things that are positive, because even a divorce, you can think of something positive about, even if it wasn't your idea. Even if you think this is awful, I'm sad, this is just horrible, you can find even one tiny little thing that's good for you, that's going to happen, that's going to be better than what you thought. Just keep growing it. You'll shift to a better place. And you can have some fun with these positive things because it'll start feeling better and better. And the change will be so much easier for you. So whatever the change, just know that can be better than what you expect, even if you're concerned about it and you're worried about it. And if you try one of these 3 ways, first to know how you're feeling and look at them and kind of categorize them so that you can feel like your mind can feel like it's got a little better control over it. Second way, of course, is to look at the negatives and flip them into positives and don't dwell on the negatives. If you need to do something about it, do something and then shift back into positive. And then the third way, to look at those positive, even tiny ways that you can find that are positive of the change and blow them up and make them bigger so that you have even more positive things come to you. Change doesn't really have to be scary, but we can make it that way when we're not so sure about how we feel and what we want to do with our lives. Things can get better and better if you allow them to. You can have a better job, a better relationship, better living arrangements, better finances. All those things can happen, and you can be a happier, more joyful you if you allow yourself to kind of go with the flow and feel more at ease within yourself with any change that comes your way. Thank you so much for joining me. If you like what you hear, please click the subscribe button and the notification if you want to know the next time that I post a video. And if you'd like to know more about me, about my coaching for the true you, or Marconics multidimensional energy for no touch or recalibration sessions, and energy space clearings for your home or your business, please check out my website at www.connecttojoy.com. It's the number 2 in the middle, Connect to Joy. It'll be below the video. Thank you so much. Until next time, bye-bye.